Notts County Talk. It is our live before the season. We've got a phone in with some of the fans. Some you'll have seen from the Grimsby phone in that we had. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way we wanted. I'll have Ben on shortly, and Ben predicted a victory when he was on. I predicted that victory as well. So unfortunately, it didn't go to plan. A lot has changed since then. Birchall and Doyle have gone. We then signed Langstaff and Adebayo all in. Dion left, unfortunately, channel favourite, and so did Alex Lacey. We then appointed Luke Williams as manager. Massively excited about that, and I'll talk about that later. We then got in the likes of Baldwin, Scott, and Badger Army, strengthened the squad even more. Cal Roberts, unfortunately, then did leave. We'll talk about that. We've had some fantastic pre-season results, beating Baseford 5-1, sticks out there. Leicester 2-1 as well, really good result. And then obviously the 2-2 against Forest, where if anyone was there, it was a fantastic result. And if you weren't there, we'll go over that as well. So a few guests to chat to today. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat box. I'll try and put them to our guests as they come in, and if not, I'll try and take them afterwards. So just before we get our first guest on, if you are not already subscribed to the channel, then we're almost at that 2,200 mark. We're about 8 or 9 off, so we could hit that before the first game of the season. That would be absolutely brilliant. So that's something we're aiming to do. So please do subscribe if you're not already. So let's get our first guest on then. I've already mentioned his name. He had to wait till last when we did the Grimsby phone in, but I'm going to get him in first. Ben, how you doing, mate?
Good stuff. Yeah, I'm fine, Tom. Good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. We've had to obviously delay half an hour because of the Lionesses Euro final. Did you watch it?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, I'm slightly hoarse. When Chloe Kelly stabbed in from 2 yards, the cat jumped, I jumped. Yeah, it was good. It's really. I'm deeply proud. I followed women's football for a long time as well, and I think the journey of it is it's magnificent what they've achieved.
It was really, really good. And we've obviously covered a few of the women's matches and for Notts, and it's going to do so much for the game, isn't it? So so well done to them. Proud of them. Really
so
good.
Proud. Yeah.
Ben, we had you on before the Grimsby game, the night before, and I said, Ben, are you confident? And I rewatched it today, and you said, yeah, really confident. We seem to do the job at home. We didn't do the job. Do you feel we're in, from when that full-time whistle went, do you feel we're in a better position now than what you thought we'd be in? Did you think we might crumble, lose a host of players, or how do you feel we are now? Because personally, I feel we're in a very, very strong position now as a club.
I feel like we're in a better position. I feel like the team's stronger, even though we've lost Cal. I love Carl Wharton. 50-odd goals in 3 seasons. He played for the shirt every single time he played. He worked and worked and worked. And we're all waiting for Thursday's presser and find out how the scan is on Macca. I know, but that guy is I'm calling him a goal psycho. It's like all he wants to do is score goals, and you can see it. He's a killer. He's an assassin, and I'm really, really excited about him. I'll talk about him a bit. I was at the York game, so I'll talk about that a little bit. I think I love Birchnell. I love the way that we played, but Luke Williams has just got a bit of bite about him. And some of the players, I'll talk about that as well. I thought Bajrami was excellent against York. He was excellent. And he's got a bit of snap about him. And I think we need that. So I think mentality-wise, I think Luke Williams might just sort that bit out. Do you know what I mean, Tom?
Yeah, just drawing back to what you just said, you were at the York game yesterday. I couldn't make that game. A few people said when Langstaff went down injured, he punched the ground.
He did.
Obviously isn't great, and a lot of time when players punch the ground like that they think something's gone wrong. Am I right in saying he played on for a few minutes though?
He did. Yeah, he did.
That might be a good sign. What was your initial gut feeling when he went off?
Well, the thing is, because he went down, he just kicked the ball. He just played the ball out wide and then went straight down. And I turned to my lad and just kind of went, I don't like that. I don't like that. And then he slapped the ground. My initial thought was, he's done here. That's going to be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because it's, if it wasn't a contact, so it's not a knock. He took a knock on the ankle, and at first I was like, maybe it's still. He took a knock really early, and I thought it was that, but he was straight to his kind of hip area. So it's clearly a muscle thing. and then you just don't know till you see the scan, you know.
I'll talk about signings a little bit later with a couple of the other guests, but briefly with you, if it was to be, say, 4, 5, 6 weeks, do you feel there's enough strength in the squad? Do we have enough depth from the signings we've got? Obviously, we lost Kyle Walton that you spoke about, 19 odd goals last season. Do you think there's enough in the squad to sort of see us through that period? Because obviously we have Chesterfield in there at home on TV. Do you think there's enough? We've got enough?
Yeah, I think we do. I think Edward Scott comes straight in. And I like the look of him. He shoots from a bit further out. He seems to like to shoot from the edge of the box, which I quite like. I like Austin a lot. Some of his decision-making will get better, I think. But he's really, really busy. And he gets into the box. He gets into the box a lot. And, you know, Cairo, if Ross, the York keeper, doesn't pull off a really good one-handed save, Cairo scores. You know, he hits it well. He hits it well. I know some people aren't sure about Cairo. I'm a bit with George on this. I think he needs to be given a chance. But he looks sharper. I think he looks sharper in this preseason than I saw him last year. So I think we'll be all right. Obviously, we're going to miss him because he's a goal scorer and his confidence is high. You can see it. You can see it against Forest. You know, it's one touch, left foot, smash. You know, so we're going to miss him, but I think we've got enough. I think we've got enough to see us through.
Yeah, I agree. Chris has said here that he thinks we need another striker as a backup regardless. I think we're okay. I mean, other guests that we have on in a little bit, other callers might disagree for one reason or another. I think we're okay. I think once Cairo gets one, I think he'll start to get a few more. I don't think he's going to be prolific this season, but I think he'll tide us over. We'll have goals from Ruben. Touch when he stays. But I think we're okay, personally.
Listen, Ruben danced past 3 players like 3 times on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he didn't get as much of the ball a bit later on, but there were times where they just couldn't get near him. So it will come. You know, he'll score. He'll get his goals, like you say, as long as we hold on to him. I don't know that we need to. I know what Chris means. It's sort of like we've lost your number one striker. So do you need another one as backup? I'm not sure. I wonder whether we need to strengthen in other areas. Maybe one more central midfielder.
That would be my position. Take the money from Roberts. Am I right in saying that Luke Williams said invest it all? We can invest it all if we need to. I think he said after the Forest game, possibly. I think we could definitely strengthen in there. There were rumours about Palmer being off. He came on second half against York, so I see that as a good sign. I'm looking at Will down there. I know Will met a few of the players on a night out the other day, and Palmer was there, so he gave me a smile down there. But yeah, I think we just need that central midfielder. A lot of people still saying they're worried about the defence. For me, the defence has been shored up no end. Absolutely no end. Baldwin looks fantastic. We've got Bajrami that can slot in there if needed. Yeah. How do you feel about the defence?
I think Baldwin's going to be brilliant. I think he's brilliant. Really, really assured. And he's travelling out. He's bringing the ball out a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, one thing I noticed at York was we went through the middle a lot more. Like in the first sort of 25 minutes, sprints didn't really touch the ball. You know, we were going much more through the middle, and that's because Baldwin's bringing it out. I mean, Cammy was still doing his thing, but I think Baldwin's going to be really, really strong. I love Rollo, but I think he's going to struggle to get in the side if Baldwin stays fit. So I think that signing, and I honestly, Bajrami, I couldn't decide where he played better, in CDM or at centre back, because he was really efficient in both.
Who are your starting three centre backs then for the opening game? Cameron has to be in there.
Yeah. Cameron, Baldwin. The way my brain goes is it's about whether you start Jim.
Okay.
Because if you don't start Jim, I put Bajrami in the CDM, and then I'd push Brins in, and then you can play TAR on the right wing back.
Yeah. Not Aaron Naman.
I really like Aaron Naman, but I think or Aaron Naman. But I think I'd probably start with TAR.
Yeah.
I think so.
I thought he'd get more time in pre-season.
Yeah.
Adebayo in. Haven't seen what I expected of him yet, but it's very, very early, isn't it? And I think the league games will tell. From what I can see, very, very quick. Just needs a bit more confidence in his game to beat the man, I think.
Yeah, and he was really unlucky against York. And like, we got the ball down to him about 3 or 4 times, and every time it was too long. So he couldn't. I mean, and he really belted it to get there, and he just couldn't get there. The one time he did, he did the guy and got the ball in the box. But exactly that, Tom. There wasn't enough to go. Oh yeah, I like this guy.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
And it causes competition in the squad, which is again really good. So
and the thing with the man, it was sort of the same. Both on Tuesday against the F-worders, their left back, I thought he played pretty well. I don't know which sinner he was, but he played the man really well. He gave him no space, and the man, whenever he got the ball, was static, so he was never moving.
Yeah,
and to be fair, York did the same sort of gig on him.
Yeah.
So because once when the man opens his legs, he's gone.
Yeah, that's the thing though. We've got pace. Down that side now. So yeah. 2 questions before I let you go, then Ben.
Go on.
The first Max has sent in. It's a question for all guests and yourself. Who is the dark horse within the squad this season? I'll let you answer that, unless you still need to think about it for a little bit.
I'm going to go just because I don't know much about him, and it's my heart going because I really want it to happen. I want Luther to get game time and show us what he can do, and I think we'd all love that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for Luther. I've got no evidence for that. Do you know what I mean? But I'm going to go for Luther.
I'm going to go Ed Francis. I think we could see a really, really good season from him. Personally,
yeah.
I think it could be a good one, Ed Francis, definitely. Yeah.
Ed 100% pass completion, Francis. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Final question as well. Doesn't need to be a long one. Where do you see Notts finishing? I've already put my prediction out. If you want to see that prediction video, I did it with Will last Friday, so you can go and check that out. I predicted Notts to finish first. We then lost Cal Roberts. I still predict Notts to finish first. What about you, Ben?
I know I'm hopelessly optimistic, and I'll get shot down for it. I think we're going to win the league.
Love it.
I think we're going to win the league. I think this is the year.
Love it.
It's short and sweet, but that's what I think.
I love the optimism. I know you live a little bit further away from Medley. When's your first league game?
My first league game, I'm not entirely sure because I'm away back end of August, so I'm going to have to look at it. But I think it might be Dagenham away. I think I'll make that trip and get to the Daggers.
Hopefully see you then, Ben. Really appreciate you coming on again.
Not at all. Nice one.
Cheers. Thanks, Ben.
Cheers.
Right. Yeah, always love to get Ben on. I know you guys really like him. Max, thank you for the question. If there's any more out there, I'm trying to get through this. Quite a lot of you joined in. We're pushing towards that 75 viewer mark. Max has got another question, Chickson or Taylor, which is a good one. We'll try and put them to people. We'll try and get a few more questions posed to people. But great to have Ben on. We'll get our next guest on them. A few of you will definitely be aware of his work on Twitter recently. Tom, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Now, a few days ago, I know there was a lot going on Twitter about the lack of coverage we're getting from Nottinghamshire Live, is it?
Yeah, I think it's not live, yeah.
Yeah, tweeting goal in capitals with 5 O's and 6 A's when Forest score, and then Notts equalising, it said goal, not score.
Just one,
like that. So the work you're doing, you can check out your Twitter handle there, just below the video view. Is really good, really, really good. So I appreciate that. I think personally, from what we're seeing on Twitter from different people, we don't need Notts Live, do we? So
no, I agree. Everyone's smashing it, especially this pre-season. There's loads going on, so it's good.
You've got a few fans watching as well. Keaton says yes, Tom. So
brilliant! Cheers. That's good. That's good to see. You comments on a lot of my stuff, so no, always appreciate it. Yeah.
So Tom, I think you're coming on to chat about the contenders, aren't you? Ben's spoken to me. Ben said we're going to win the league. I think we're going to win the league. There's obviously, I looked at your previews on Twitter, really, really good. You've got Notts there, you've got Wrexham there, Chesterfield, and then you had a place for a potential dark horse.
Yeah, I'd probably put Solihull. I've been thinking about it over the last few days. Probably Solihull if I've had it there as well, to be honest.
Who do you see winning the league?
Probably be a bit unpopular, everyone, but I think you've got to go with Wrexham. I mean, they've got to be favourites. They're favourites for a reason. Watched they won 4-0 yesterday against Macclesfield, I think it was. I'm saying that's again another preseason friendly, but they've got so much firepower in their squad, and they outspend everyone, and they've not been that. I think they've learned from past mistakes, Wrexham, this season. Where all the other seasons they've brought in loads of players. This season they've only brought in 3 or 4 added to the squad where they really need to. So they've sort of got that squad built. And yeah, I think Wrexham will win it. To be honest, I can't really see past Wrexham. Maybe that's just me being cautious because I don't want to say, "Oh, Notts will win it," and then again we fall at the hurdle. So,
do you see them winning it by a long way? Do you think we'll challenge them? Or do you just see it being?
I hope we challenge. But I mean, they people will say they Stockport ran with it last season, but Wrexham pushed them pretty close towards the end. As the National League, I think anyone can slip up. Stockport are miles clear, and then they sort of nearly dropped us. I think we'll push them. I think we'll push them. Chesterfield. It depends on if Cook gets them playing. They might push them as well. And I think Solihull as well. I probably wrote them off a little bit early in pre-season because they lost the playoff final, and when you lose the playoff final, we saw what happened to us. Sort of not as good a season. But and obviously Torquay was massive; they dropped off massively. But I think they could be up there. Solihull they've probably got 4 of the best attackers in the league. Frightening attack they've got. So we know how good man Jarl is as well.
It's I never know if this is how I say his name. Sabara from
something like that. Yeah, I don't know his name.
When they re-signed him, for me, that put them as contenders to be right up there. He's absolutely brilliant. They got Dallas and they got Josh Kelly from Maidenhead.
Josh Kelly, and they got Alex Reid on loan from Stockport as well. So 4 frightening attacking options really. So obviously they lost Hudlin to Huddersfield, but he's not for me, to be honest. Honestly,
I don't see what people saw in it. I think they're just going on his high. And he scores against Grimsby in the playoff final. For me, it makes this is going to be controversial. It makes them a better team now he's gone. And as much as I hate to say it, I feel like that's sort of the same with Kyle Wootton and Notts. I feel like he was so one-dimensional. And at the Forest game, I don't know if you went to the Forest game.
No, I've just seen the clips, but not go.
A number of times we got the ball in midfield, whether it be Austin or one of the midfielders, and instantly Langstaff was turned and away, and he was trying to stretch that space. As soon as he stretched the space, a few times Ruben just dropped in, picked the ball up, and that's why he was able to be so effective. So I feel like it's kind of the same thing, not to the same extent, but I do feel like losing Kyle Wootton helps us a bit.
No, I agree with you there because you see him sort of when Wootton played, he did try and make those runs, but he just hasn't got the pace to do it. And obviously, I don't think he had a very good game for Stockport yesterday. Wootton, I did like Wootton. I think he got a lot of stick online unfairly, but I think you're all right. But we're a better team. I mean, I think Langstaff's a much better goal scorer for a start. I think Wootton's people. I've said this on Twitter before, and people have said that. I've basically said before he's not a natural goal scorer, and people say no, he's got 19 goals last season. But I still don't think he's like a natural finisher. I think he's he's a good striker overall play, but I don't think he's a natural fit. Like Langstaff is a natural fit in the box. He's going to score. Getting the ball, he's going to score. So I think that we look better. I'd have to agree. I think we do look better without him. I think the biggest thing this season is the positivity. We've got rid of some people that I'm a big fan of Birchnell, a big fan of Wootton, but there's sort of divided opinion in the Notts, in the Notts fans. Whereas this season, everyone's behind Williams, everyone's behind Langstaff. Like there's so much positivity. I think that's why people are probably saying we could win the league because it's such a good feeling around the club at the minute, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, I presume this question's for me. If Notts get promoted, will you shave your tash off? No, definitely not. There's no chance I'm shaving the tash off, so that's staying. I'll shave it off if Notts get to League One. Couple of questions then, Tom, for you from Kyle. So if Shamanga stays, he said he'd back Chesterfield over Wrexham. My first question is, would you agree? And the second question, it's really a statement, but I'll turn it into a question. Parkinson is vastly overrated.
About Cabby. He's obviously the best striker in the division. Well, he was last season. But if he's the same player or not from an injury, we've not really seen him. I've not seen much Chesterfield. Maybe on the bench. I don't know if he's come on, but obviously he's the top man in the division. If he's fit, they were a bit of a one-man team, really. Chesterfield. I mean, after he got injured, they nearly fell out of the playoffs. But they've added some proper quality now. Chesterfield up front this season. So if he stays, I think he'll stay. I don't think they'll sell him. I don't know if I've missed that link moving away. But if he's back to his fitness, they'll be dangerous. And for Parkinson, a lot of people don't rate full Parkinson Wrexham, but maybe I'm just going off what he did a long time ago with Bradford and stuff. But I think he's a good manager. He's better than people are making out. Yeah, perhaps he probably should have done a better job last season. Obviously, they lost in the playoffs to Grimsby, but so did we. And I don't think people would necessarily say Bertrand's a bad manager. I mean, he's gone on to League One. So, but a lot of people don't rate Parkinson. I can see why, because perhaps Wrexham have got such a good team that you would expect them to have done better last season. But I don't know, he's got them playing well. And if they win the league, and he's the manager that wins the league, I don't think Wrexham fans will be too bothered. But I can see why people do say it.
Yeah, and I've seen a few people write them off because there might be upheaval if they do decide to get rid of Parks and say they don't start that well. All I say to that is look what happened with Stockport. Challoner came in, won something like 19 out of 20 or 19 out of 21. So if they did it at the right time, that's not going to happen for them. I slightly agree with that. I think it's 50-50 with Shamanga. I think it'll be interesting. I'm hoping he's not back to his full fitness by the 20th of August. Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, it will take a long time. And I've seen Chesterfield fans say, calling people out for saying, will he be the same striker?
It's a good question.
It is a good question. It's a really, really bad injury. I don't like to see anyone get injured, but it is interesting. It might take a while to come back as well. And Parkinson, I don't massively rate him. I think that there's 4 managers for those top 4 teams you mentioned. I think all of them are really interesting with the managers. Parkinson, I don't see as fantastic. Audley has had 2 opportunities through the playoffs, hasn't got it done. Can he do it as champions? Luke Williams, very untested, but so far he's got us playing nice football, only pre-season. Can he maintain it? And Cook didn't exactly get them playing fantastic football and crashed out the playoffs with a bit of a whimper against Solihull. So it'll be interesting, won't it? Really interesting. I'm going to bring the final question back. I would ask you where you think that's going to finish, but you've already said on your video, your prediction video with Luke Walsh, was it a few days ago?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, a few days ago. Yeah.
Second, you said, didn't you, in that one?
Yeah, I've stuck with that in my preview. It's on my page as well. I stuck second. I've had to go second because, if I'm being honest, I'm really worried about Chesterfield, but I can't predict Chesterfield to finish with us, and I can't bring myself to do that. So I've had to go second. My
final question is: it's the question that was there earlier. I can't find it to pull it back up again. But who's the dark horse in the squad for you this season? Ben went with Luther. I went with Ed Francis. Who do you think we could see?
I've still go with Jim O'Brien. But I wrote him off before the season. We go back through my tweets. I said, we need to learn from our mistakes. We offered him a 2-year deal. We shouldn't have done that. But in pre-season, I think he's been brilliant. I mean, yeah, he had that. Which game was it? Cambridge, where he gave away. Cambridge, where his passing was poor. And
it was Cambridge.
I think it was where he went through and scored. And he had a poor game there, but he still had some good moments in that. And I think he's possibly the best player to execute Williams's tactics on the pitch. So he's tactically very aware, and the pressing, he seems to be the player that's touched the pressing the most, organising the press as well. And to be honest, before the season, I don't think he'd start 5 games this season, but he could be actually a crucial player for us because he's got plenty of energy as well. Even though he's 34, and so I think tactically he's really good. I would have said Francis as well. Ed Francis was, but you've already said him. So they were the 2 I was thinking of. Ed Francis as well, because Francis has looked really good, and I think if he can, last season was his first full season really of men's football. So if it's going to take anyone a while to adapt to that level if you're used to playing youth football. So I think if he can fill out a bit as well, Ed Francis will be good. But he's looking good as well.
Yeah, he is. Tom, massively appreciate you taking time to come on. I'm sure a lot of people, there's a few comments there that saying you're doing some great work. So
that's brilliant. Yeah, that's great.
Hopefully chat you again during the season.
Yeah, cheers for having me on. I'm hoping to get to, I will be going to the first game, Maidenhead. So
yeah, I might see you there. Cheers, Tom.
Yeah, of course you there. Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Yes. Good to have Tom on there. If you haven't seen the work he's done, just rewind this, find his Twitter handle. You might already follow him on Twitter, but some really, really good threads. He's looked at a lot of the pre-season friendlies, picked them apart, put some clips on there. So, I'll definitely go and give him a follow. Having a look, we've got our next caller. Almost didn't make it on. Joined with a few seconds to spare. You'll have seen him before on the channel. He's helped me out a fair few times with that Previous Perspective episode, which we'll be back on Thursday, actually. We'll have our first Previous Perspective Thursday. We've got Matt. Matt, I think you're... there we go. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I think we last had you on the channel for that Grimsby phone-in. But we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that.
I did predict we'd lose, but it's a very shallow victory there.
Yeah, well, you know. Let's see if you can be a bit more positive about this season then. How do you feel going into this season?
Pros and negatives. I think obviously there's been two big losses to the team. First one is Kyle Wootton, who I do think is a big loss. I know obviously earlier in the chat you were saying that he was quite one-dimensional, and I agree to some extent. I think he has been. I think it's a real shame he never got a run as a 2 up top. I would like to see him in a bit more of a flat 2 with Rodriguez last season, just so someone could play off him. And then obviously the second big loss is dearest Cal Roberts going up north of the border. Again, Cal, fantastic player. No slander on Cal at all. However, I don't think he fits in with this team. And as much as I love him, and he's probably my favourite player to watch, I don't think he's going to be as big of a loss as some people might think he might be.
No. Well, you're talking about Wootton there in a 2. Some of the best football, well, some of the most exciting times I've seen attacking was when you saw Wootton up there with Dennis or Thomas a while back, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's credit to Wootton because he evolved his game so much at Notts. He came in very much as a target man and turned into more of a complete 9. But I still do think that he had a lot of potential to link up with someone. I think someone like Roberts would be perfect, or even this season. The idea of Wootton and Langstaff together, I think, would have been fantastic. I know a lot of people will just go, Scott and Langstaff, they've got the chemistry, and that, yeah, true. But I think seeing Wootton as more of a target man and working the lines sort of, wide and playing it through to Langstaff would have been exciting. But we're talking hypotheticals anyway, aren't we?
Yeah, I agree with you. With Cal Roberts, fantastic player. I watched at half time of the Euros final today. I watched a little bit of the Aberdeen Celtic game, and I'd been searching Cal's name, searching Jaden Richardson's name. They didn't seem best pleased with Richardson's performance. One of the fan channels for Aberdeen asked for a few thoughts on Richardson. I said, you might have some problems defensively. Attacking wise, really good. Link up well with Cal. And lo and behold, from what I've been reading so far, a few people saying that Richardson wasn't great defensively. But I didn't get a chance to see anything of Cal Roberts. He's playing against Celtic. So what do you expect? I think we'll see a bit more from him. Do you think he can make that step up? Because I think the SPL, let's be honest, it's a bit of a step up.
Yeah, it is a step up. Don't get me wrong. It's a division where there really are some extremes. You've got some teams that are, if you want to compare it to English football, you got some teams in Celtic and Rangers who probably could compete in the Premier League, albeit I don't think they'd be a top 6 side, but I think they could, stay in the division. Meanwhile, you've got some teams towards the lower, talk about St Mirren's or Inverness or people like that, where in reality they're probably playing more of a sort of League One level of football, which I think a lot of people would probably look at Cal Roberts and go, you know what, in the right team, you could probably play League One football. And I think he can. I think there's two things that is really important to Cal to play at that level. The first one is the formation. And as I hinted on earlier, I think in the wrong formation, i.e. a narrow formation where he's got to force a play as a 10, he's not as effective. He's far better playing out wide. And the second one is if he can stay fit. Obviously, he had that big injury while he was at Notts, 1 or 2 niggles along the way, and he's a better player when he's got a bit of match fitness behind him.
I feel like the team is really, really well balanced now through the signings. I think I'm going to speak to Jake a little bit later about signings, so we won't brush on it too much. But there seems to be a perfect balance now. Like we've got Chickson and Taylor that can both play at the left wing back position. There was a question earlier. I can't find it to pull it up now, but who would you go with at that wing back position for the opening game? I personally go for Taylor.
I would go for Taylor as well, but the one player that makes the difference for me is where you play Bajrami. I think if you play him as a CDM, then I think you've got the license to play Taylor, someone that's slightly less disciplined and slightly more attacking minded, because the Bajrami is he's also a centre-back. He's got that real defensive nous about him. I think if you don't and you're playing someone like a Palmer or a Vincent or a Francis at CDM, I think I'd be tempted to go for Chickson just to add a bit more solidity and possibly away from home a bit more. But, if you're asking me first game of the season at Meadow Lane, who am I picking? I'm probably going with Taylor.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what happened last season. Do you? He just seemed to
He had an injury, vanished out the team. I don't know. I don't know if it just wasn't light or it wasn't great. I mean, we can't just say, damn, he was so unlucky. There were times where we saw him on the pitch and he wasn't particularly good, especially defensively. And in a team that, probably conceded a few more goals than they should have last season, and there was a bit of criticism about the defence, it made a lot more sense to play someone more defensively minded like Chickson, because I would say, as you kind of touched on, it was quite an unbalanced team last year. I think it was, you were either a defender or you're a really attacking minded player. We didn't really have too much balance. And I think that's probably something that didn't help Taylor out.
Yeah. Where do you sit? This is an interesting one because I've been talking to a few Notts fans about it. Where do you sit with Frank Vincent?
I like Frank Vincent. And do you know what? When I was listening to you and you were talking about dark horses, I was tempted to put Frank Vincent into mine. And the reason for that is that if we play a narrow style of football, which I think we will, and a narrow three, for a heads up, I think the main two centre midfielders are going to be Bajrami, who I think will take that CDM spot unless we sign another player in that role, and Palmer. Now, they are both very good players, but not as mobile as you would want to fill that wide area. So I think there's a real potential for Frank Vincent this year to take that third centre mid spot and become that player that runs into the wide positions and links up, the full backs who are wide wingers, etc., your centre mids and your forward players. So there's a lot of potential for him, but he is quite inconsistent, I would say. But young player, not a lot of football.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he's not in the top 5 players in the National League in terms of energy he can bring to the squad. I remember when he first broke in. I think he started against against Tamworth in the replay, and then he came in against Stockport and scored. And I was just like, where's this energy come from? So, yeah, very, very interesting to see how he does. Touching on Bajrami, when we played Forest, stuck in my mind. He picked the ball up, sort of the line between the midfield and defence, pushed by 2-3 players very easily, and just seemed very assured on the ball. So I'm going to have to agree with you. I'd rather see him in that defensive midfield position than at centre back. But I'll get a few of the other callers' thoughts on that as well. I'd like to reinvest some of the cow money in a centre mid. Saying that, if you've got Bajrami, Francis, Palmer, and Vincent, is that enough? Jim O'Brien's there as well. That's 5.
Go on, Tom. Sorry,
I just don't know if that's enough. I'm yet to be convinced. Jim O'Brien, fantastic against Forest. Don't know if you made it to that game, but I was sat with your brother at that game, and I was saying to him how well Jim O'Brien was playing, but can he sustain that for the season? Has Luke Williams giving him a new lease of life, and will he be playing like that? Because if he plays like that all season, what a player we've got. We know he's got that energy, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy with Notts' midfielder in an attacking sense. My big worry and why I think we need another centre midfielder is in that defensive role. Is this someone with a bit of steel, a bit of versatility, who will almost like Doyle was. I was never a massive Michael Doyle fan, and I'll say that because I know a lot of people loved him. I was never as super keen on him. But that kind of player that, you could have 6-7 men up the field and they'd still know their position. They wouldn't be banzai attacking and leaving it open. They'd know. There'd be a smart player who would own that position, and whether it be in possession or out of possession, they would sit there. And Francis has got potential, and I agree with you. Francis could be a dark horse this year, but my worry is that if Bajrami goes down, one criticism of us last year, I think, was our midfield. I thought when we played those big matches, like Grimsby in the playoff match, they beat us in the midfield. That's the one for me that is why we lost, because our midfield lost that battle. So my worry is we haven't strengthened enough in that centre midfield in terms of that ball-winning midfielder, someone that's going to really run the show for Notts. So
I remember that Grimsby game. As soon as you said that, I just got flashbacks of that Eric O'Souza, is it, running 20, 30 yards unchallenged towards the end of the game when everyone was tiring. I was thinking, when's this guy going to tire? And that's what we need to address. But Matt, before I let you go, you've sort of already told me your dark horses. Where do you see Notts finishing? Are you with me and Ben? Are you with Tom? Where do you see Notts finishing?
I'm naturally quite pessimistic, or realist, as I like to say. I won't delve too much into it because I think Tom did a really good job of that. But I would probably say that fourth is where I see us. I agree. I think Wrexham are going to win the league. Just the resource, and then agree with what was previously said. I think they've been quite smart. I'm not too sure on Sam Dolby that they're apparently bringing in, but they've been quite smart. They haven't just thrown the vast number of players into a new team. They're built on what already probably was a team that would have won the league last year. I'll say stupid comment, won the league if it wasn't for Lincoln Stockport, but I see those. I see Chesterfield with Shamanga coming back being really powerful, and agree with Solihull of only gone and strengthened on a good team. A few other dark horses around there. Torquay finished the season very well. Southend finished it strongly. You've got two clubs going down in Oldham and Scunthorpe who are a bit of an unknown. Yes, they had poor seasons last year, but Oldham under no ownership. Scunthorpe on paper don't have a terrible team, but obviously pretty shocking last year. So it's fourth for me.
Yeah, well, that's upset me a little bit, Matt. I thought you'd join the optimism club with me and Ben. I thought you'd be saying top. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the last few days for the season, because there's 9 or 10 months of just pure stress coming. So look after yourself until the first game. So
thank you, Tom. See you down the lane.
No worries. Cheers, Matt. Good to have Matt. And we're now at 87 viewers, almost at 90. So it'd be really good if we get to 100. If you've just joined us, you can obviously rewind. We've spoken to Ben, Matt there, and we spoke to Tom as well. So we're trying to get to that 2,200 subscriber mark. We're about 7 or 8 away. So if we could get that by the main game, that would be fantastic. And this year we are going for the goal. It's very, very optimistic. Just ticked to 90 viewers. We're very optimistic. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the season, which would be absolutely massive. But let's get our next caller on. Someone you'll have seen on the channel, be very familiar with. He was on the last one that we did with these. Jake, you all right, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, pal. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I want to just start, first of all, I know you want to talk about transfers, but you were at the Forest game.
Yeah.
Tuesday night. What did you make of that performance?
I thought we were brilliant. I thought we were fantastic. Given that there's a comment on Twitter, somebody put underneath the Forest team that team would walk the championship that they put out first half. So, as much as they want to downplay it, say it was the kids of the under-23s.
Yeah.
I thought we were phenomenal. I thought we weren't giving enough credit at the end of that. I thought we were fantastic.
I know this is a strange thing to say because it was a pre-season friendly. Very, very strange thing to say. I thought that was one of Ruben's best ever games in a Notts shirt.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. You just hope he's not playing for the shop window there, is he?
Wow, no. His brother was there.
Oh, was it? Oh, right.
I had a chat with his brother at half time and at full time. I was just saying, look, that was incredible.
Yeah, I thought Luke Williams as well in his post match. In his post match said he wouldn't look out of place playing Forest, and he wouldn't have done given that quality, was it? They were fantastic, and it was nice that it was a big game atmosphere that we didn't seem to bottle, which is always a pet peeve of mine with Notts, is that we just bottle big game atmospheres. But no, I thought we played really well, and I thought there was a bit of grit about us, and it was good. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about there were some younger players in that Forest side. Yeah. But I think Richard, that does Notts County Stats and part of the analyst bar team, said something that there was 50,000 minutes in that side.
Yeah, played in the Championship or in league football or something like that. Yeah, so he got a few bites off the F1 fans, but
what one player that hadn't played in the Championship, which is impressive. And let's be honest, Ruben was being marked by Ryan Yates, probably the best player on the pitch.
Exactly. Well, we know the quality that Ryan Yates has got, don't we? And
he was running him around. Wasn't it? So very interesting. But on the signings, who are you most excited about?
I like Longstaff. I think I think he's shown in pre-season that his pedigree of scoring. Was it 29, 30 goals he got for Gateshead last season?
32 in all, I think.
32. Yeah, he's just got that quality about him, and his movement off the ball and on the ball is phenomenal. He's been really. He was like probably the second best player against Forest.
Yeah.
And I just think he's got that quality about him, and I'm really excited to see. I think was talking about Wootton compared to him, and I think he's genuinely a more clinical finisher than Wootton is.
I brought Williams' question up for you. How many do you see him scoring this season if he stays fit?
I'd like him to replicate, but I think anywhere above 20 would be probably 20 plus would be a great target. Like I said, he's got Scott alongside him as well. And how many did Scott score for Gateshead as well?
24.
24 as well. Yeah, so
maybe a bit less.
Yeah.
Do you see them two playing as a front two though? Because it's hard. It's hard because we've got Scott, and he had that illness, didn't he? Where he couldn't quite shake. I think he had some scarring on tissue on his lung, possibly from COVID. I don't know. So we haven't seen them play as a two. The only time I've really seen them play as a two was they came on second half together at the Baseford game, which we went.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? So second half against Baseford. Yeah, they look good. They look good. The pair of them
within half an hour, they'd both scored. I think.
Yeah.
So and then they play a little bit together against Forest, and I think they were doing pretty well. So do you see them playing as a two, or do you see it being Langstaff?
Well, he's obviously like, I know we keep going back to the Forest game, but it's obviously he's been playing Langstaff sort of and up top, hasn't he? And then he's been playing Mitchell a lot. Obviously, Scott hasn't had a lot of game time. I don't. Obviously, they clearly had something good going at Gateshead. I know it was the National League North, but there was clearly something there between the two of them. Obviously, to score 50 plus goals. So I'd say yes, but I don't think we're going to get that to start the season. I don't think we're going to have them both playing at the start of the season like that. Maybe it sort of evolves into that later on, but and obviously it depends on Langstaff's injury and whatnot. Obviously, hopefully it's nothing too serious, but I wouldn't change the system if the two of them play so well together. But then again, it's just a case of if it works. Obviously, a different set of players around them, etc., isn't it? So.
Yeah. Well, I think it works either way. I really do think it works either way. And you're saying yes, they played National League North. Look at Cal Roberts, translated brilliantly, fantastic.
Massively,
came into our league, and for that the latter part of that season, I remember, the goal against Barrow, which I always bang on about, the goal against Barnet in the playoffs, the free kick against Harrogate in the playoff. So you can come straight in and you can be really, really good. And for that little period that Cal Roberts came in, he was one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league. Just a shame the rest of the side didn't necessarily turn up in the playoff final, but so
we won't go back to that game. We don't want to talk about that.
Exactly, it can definitely be done. Going back to that Baseford game as well, you offered to drive to the Baseford game. Was that to get your away trips out of the way?
That's me. I'm sorting that, mate. I've done Baseford.
Was that the reason?
I've done Baseford. That's me done. It's my away trips done in the
Jake's good, yeah. I think we've only seen you do Solihull previously. Solihull and Baseford, two of the closest you can get. So yeah, well, I've got you down here written down for Torquay.
All right.
Gateshead. I've got you down for those. Is that all right?
Yeah, fine, mate. Don't trust. Gateshead Tuesday night is not a problem. No issue.
Yeah, we'll throw in a Dover game as well, even though not in the same.
Just go down there.
Chris says Williams has a really tough job of picking a starting 11. We have so much quality. Do you see that as a problem, or do you think it's?
I think it's a nice problem to have, isn't it? It's definitely a nice problem. We have got a lot of quality, and I think it's shown in this pre-season. I'd be miffed to think of a pre-season that's been this good. I know it's a lot of, again, the friendlies, and you don't want to get a lot of false pretenses, but we looked good. I forget about the Leicester game as well. We pretty much matched a decent Leicester side in that first half as well, and then obviously beat them in the second half.
Well, you look at it, don't you? Beat Leicester. They had Harvey Barnes playing, Iheanacho, Pereira, Chowdhury. Beat them. Did really, really well.
Yeah, okay, more than matched them. Yeah.
Yeah, Cambridge was a bit of a strange one. Two
70-minute games in that one. Yeah, I think he played a very attacking versus defensive lineup on that, didn't he? I think he played one team in 170 minutes and the other one 70 minutes. But then we had the hat trick as well from Langstaff as well, wasn't it?
6 minutes.
Yeah, 6 minute hat trick. Yeah.
You've then got Forest 2-2. Should have won the game, in my opinion. Kept them quiet. They had an unbelievable free kick, which you can't do anything about.
Oh no, that wasn't real.
and then you have the.
You'll get Will on later when he was about to take that free kick. He's like, who does he think he is, the real Cafu? And then he goes and does that. So
I'm looking forward to that. It's like when I said against Wrexham, the Wrexham lad got the ball about 30 yards out in the home game and said, let him shoot his rubbish.
Oh, yeah, then he scored, didn't he? Yeah, it was brilliant.
I remember that, but I won't be saying that again this season. I'll ask Will about that, the real Cafu. Yeah. That's a good one. And then York, they're in our league. They're not going to be no pushovers.
I've obviously not. The feedback I was seeing on Twitter and stuff was all positive. We were aggressive. We were on it we were pressing from minute one. We're always optimistic, aren't we? It was optimistic last year. It was optimistic the year before.
Yeah.
I can see us giving it another good go. We might just fall short. Given I know you're going to ask me, to where do you think the finish? I think the finish.
Go on, wait. I'll save that. I'm going to ask you first. Who's the dark horse in the squad for you that's going to shine this season?
Oh, I always like the main. I've always liked the main. Yeah, I think the main's fantastic. I think his end product is lacking, but I've always had a bit of a soft spot for him. I think his pace is terrifying, and he didn't have the best of games against Forest, but he played really well against Leicester. I think there was the lad he was against at Forest was actually quicker than him, which was a bit of a surprise. But no, I've always liked him, and I think he clearly didn't get enough opportunity last season. I think as either an impact sub or as a start, I think he's good. He's quite good, a bit quality.
Yeah, fair enough. And the final question, I'm going to ask you, where do you see Notts finishing?
Second. I see Wrexham as being a bit too big and strong for this league, it's frustrating to say that. We could have. It swings and roundabouts. We could have really done with them going up last year. But at the end of the day, it's a long season, isn't it? You just don't know what's going to happen, and all sorts of surprises could pop up. You never know. I would like to say we finish second, and we have our fourth attempt at the playoffs. And we've done it for the last 3 years. We might as well do it again. No, but it'd be nice to have a decent playoff. To win the playoffs, that'd be spectacular. But I think so. I think we finish second or third.
Yeah, Jake, appreciate you coming on. I'll see you at Maidenhead.
Yeah, see you at Maidenhead. Yeah, nice one.
On the channel later in the season, so appreciate that, Jake.
Pleasure. Take it. Nice one.
Interesting, Jake. There's saying that he'd love us to go up via the playoffs. Personally, I think it's the best way to go up. You saw Grimsby coming from behind, the way they did it. So for me, I prefer a win at, I would say Wembley, but wherever they decide to do the playoff final, I think that's the best way to go up. But I really do feel confident this year. So, interesting. Just seeing this before I bring our next guest in. Dale says he's had £10 on Langstaff at 25-1 for the National League top scorer. Don't think those odds will be around for too long. Obviously, they're lengthened by Shamango and Mully being there, but you really do never know. So, interesting. Very, very good odds for that one. Very good odds. Two guests then. We'll go for our penultimate guest. Now, this. If you've been in the chat, you've been in with us. We're at 90 viewers. Subscribe if you haven't, give the video a like. We're in territory where these guests have been waiting a long time, so we need a bit of recognition for that in the chat. So our penultimate guest, it's not Will. It's not Will, and I've been bigging him up, but he's going to have to wait. Colin, how you doing?
Not so bad, mate, yourself.
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Am I right in saying I've had 2/3 of Analyst Bar on now? Is Tom's joined you on Analyst Bar?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a massive fan of his content, and I agree completely with what you were saying about the services provided. Certainly in the postseason and pre-season has been absolutely fantastic, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think you'd agree with me saying who needs Nottinghamshire Live when you've got the content that we've got going ahead on Twitter, and like yourself, Tom, Richard at Not Stats. It's just way better than Nottinghamshire Live, in my opinion.
I agree with you completely. Yeah, we're doing it ourselves, aren't we? And like I say, there's so much fan content out there, very knowledgeable stuff as well. You want Notts fans to be adding a Notts voice, don't you? So that's one of the fantastic things. Every time I log onto Twitter, there's always something new. So that's fantastic to see. Yeah,
it is. What are your thoughts on the season ahead then?
I think we've learned some interesting things. Obviously, I agree with absolutely every guest that we've heard so far that, we're going into the season full of excitement. One of the things that I've noticed is we seem to be really aggressive pressing the ball forward. I think the goal that we scored, I think was against York, was very sort of typical of what we're trying to do. We weren't trying to win the ball back very early, which I don't think was typical under Ian Birchnell. But I think we've also learned a few things about what we need to be watching out for. I think back to goals that we conceded against Leicester and Forest, where they beat our press, played it through us, 2 or 3 passes and were able to get a shot off. So there's some kind of caution around there as well, which I'm sure would have interested opposition managers as well. So we've just got to hope that we can stamp our authority on games and really sort of take the game to the opposition, because let's face it, the teams that I've just mentioned, Leicester, Forest, there's some extreme talent as you mentioned with your previous guests. Yeah. So we're not going to come up against that very often.
Yeah, I was just thinking that when you were saying that 2 or 3 passes and they got through the press, I think the Surridge goal was an example of that. I don't want to jinx things, but you don't expect that kind of quality from, no disrespect, your Maidstones, Aldershot, Dorking. You don't expect that to be happening too regularly. Obviously, it will happen, but that gives me a little bit of heart that I think teams aren't going to be able to do what those teams did to us on a regular basis.
Yeah, and there's no harm in pre-season, is there, as well, having these things happen, because it means that your players are slightly more alert and slightly more aware of it. I know one of the conversations that we're going to have is about who we're going to have at wing back and stuff, and I think that probably informs my choices as well, that I'd probably have Brindley and Chickson in those roles simply because they've played centre-half as well. So, if you imagine that the ball's down our left-hand side in an attacking position, let's say, that having Brindley on the right-hand side you can tuck in as a centre-half is probably more important for me, just while we get our organisation going and work out what happens if we lose the ball. They're probably my choices, in terms of making sure that we're making the right choices to just overcome some of those early weaknesses. But then obviously, it's a long season as well, so I'm sure that we'll be able to rotate the opportunities and the positions that we've got.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of guests about him. I think it's because of the levels of excitement. You're obviously excited about Scott and excited about Langstaff. But someone I am very, very excited about is Bajrami. Now, we were linked, how long ago? Was it January? There was supposedly an agreement between us and Kidderminster. Just how important do you think he's going to be?
I think he is going to be incredibly important. And I think there's an interesting thing about Notts' transfer policy. And Bajrami sticks out for me simply because of his age. He's one of those players that reminds me of, the early parts of the takeover, the Reach Brothers takeover, where we're trying to recruit those lads in their early 20s with the potential moving forward. And let's face it, we've got Cal Roberts playing in the Scottish Premier League now as a result of that kind of recruitment drive. What we seem to be doing now, though, is picking up players who are sort of 25, 26, and obviously Bajrami is a little bit younger than that. And so I think there's high hopes for him in the club, that he's going to be that next player who sort of steps in and goes forward. Obviously, he's playing a slightly higher level to what he's used to, and obviously slightly higher expectations in terms of what he's trying to achieve with us. But I think there's probably high hopes within the club that he's going to be the next player who sort of steps on and kicks on his career. And I certainly know the feedback when we signed him, with the opposition fans that were going into the comments, they were full of compliments about, the level that he could play at. Some mentioning Championship, some mentioning League One. So high hopes indeed for him.
Yeah, someone that I hadn't really sort of slipped under my radar in pre-season. I don't know. Have you made many of the friendlies this season? I know it's difficult for people to make them all because it's holidays, it's pre-season. But have you made that many?
Yeah, it's been difficult to get to some of them, to be honest. I've watched an awful lot of footage of it, but I've not been able to get to too many of the games.
Yeah, so Sam Austin for me. First I've really seen him was against Forest, and he grew into the game so much. Now, it was a bit of a shock when we did that double signing. I think Notts tweeted what's like 2's better than 1 or something, and I never expected Sam Austin to come in. But do you think he could be the Cal replacement? Do you think, because Luke Williams has already said, we're already looking at people. I personally think he's there. He's already at the club.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. He's certainly he's got that experience of playing out wide, but I think also he's got the opportunity for filling in for Ruben as well, playing in that kind of really difficult to mark position just behind the strikers and finding those spaces. And I think he's got the intelligence off the ball to really find those spaces. Obviously, I remain consistently nervous about Ruben's future. And I do think that, should the worst happen and we lose Ruben, I mean, for example, I read recently that Luton are in the market. They're on about spending $500,000 on McAtee, I think, from Grimsby. And I think Ruben's a very similar player, attacking from deep. And so I'm a little bit worried that, if the McAtee deal doesn't go off, then maybe they're coming for Ruben. But Austin is that sort of player. Again, you can find those spaces in and around the box, really hard to pick up, confuses midfielders and defenders in terms of who's going with him. But I agree as well, that if we decide to operate out wide, and obviously we've got the main as well to consider, Austin's another of those players who can go out wide and really cause some problems.
Yeah, it's not a nice question to ask. Do you think on by the end of the transfer window, this transfer window, we'll still have Ruben?
I think he may have been slightly priced out of the market. I mean, I must admit, going back to the McAtee story, £500,000 a lot of money for a player that was in the National League and going, he's just gone into the Football League again. And that, let's face it, that's on the back of one really good season. Ruben's had two, obviously a little bit older, but someone who's well above this standard. And I just think that maybe he's been priced out of the market. The rumours of how much we sold Cal for, 150 grand or a little bit around there. You'd argue that Ruben's probably worth a little bit more. So I just think the market, unfortunately, just hasn't been there for Ruben. And obviously that's beneficial for Notts, because so far in pre-season, he's proved absolutely valuable, hasn't he? I mean, like I say, the quality that he's been able to put out there and demonstrate. I mean, I'm sure, as much as Ruben, I'm sure, has enjoyed his time at Notts, I'm sure he's desperate to probably move on and prove himself somewhere else. But, I think Notts have got themselves into a very strong position as well after selling Cal, that, we can name our price effectively. And that keeps off some of the silly bids, doesn't it? And so far, Ruben seems to be enjoying his football. So we might get through this window and keep him, and we might enjoy him for a little bit longer. Yeah,
we had him on the channel at Christmas. I think it was just after Christmas last season, end of January maybe. And he's just a very nice guy. Like, he just enjoys life, enjoys football. When we were doing the half marathon last year, he gave us a shirt to give away. Just a really down-to-earth guy. And the fact that we've turned down several offers. Luke Williams said that, and he's still putting in those performances. Still, he set Langstaff through to score against Forest, instantly turns to Chicks, and I think gives him a big hug, high five. I think even if that deal doesn't come through, I think he'll give 110% for Notts, personally.
Oh, completely. Completely. He's a fantastic player. And like I say, we're going to enjoy every single minute that we've got left with him.
Yeah, definitely. Before I go on to those final two questions that I've asked everyone else, Williams has said a few times that we can spend the money for Cal if we want. We're in the market for people still. Charlie's got a question. He said, who do you think the new signings will be? I'm going to change that a little bit. Do you think there'll be new signings? Definitely. Or are you not so sure? And what positions do you think they would be in?
I think there will be new signings. I still don't think that we've successfully answered the goalkeeper question yet. That's absolutely no criticism on Slocum. I think he came in at a time when we needed him and really sort of stabilised us going into the playoffs. But I just wonder whether he has the full skill set that perhaps we need in the type of position that we're playing. Thinking about being caught on the counter. I don't know whether Slocum is the type of goalkeeper that comes out of his box, and is that kind of mobile. And also, I think, we've lost a little bit of height. I know we've got some very dominant centre-halves, but we've lost a lot of height. If you think about Wootton, if you think about Eli Sam, 6'4", 6'5" in the box. And let's face it, last season, we weren't particularly dominant in the air anyway. So I'm just wondering whether we need a goalkeeper or certainly an additional, option to be able to rotate with Slocum in goal. So I think there's one. And then one player who I've gone very hot and heavy for is Greg Ollie. I think he's probably got a restraining order on me on Twitter at the moment because I keep firing in. As soon as Cal Roberts went, I was expecting Notts to do very similar stuff to what they did with Langstaff and Kedwin Scott. I'd imagine that he's probably got, like those two players that I've just mentioned, he's probably got a minimum release fee in his contract. I think he signed it quite recently, only about a year ago as well, similar sort of time to Langstaff and Scott. I think he'd be an ideal player, again, thinking about that kind of Ruben position, but also he's got the benefit of playing a little bit deeper as a central midfielder. Obviously, the additional benefit of knowing the players that are already at Meadow Lane as well. So he's a player that I'd certainly like to see at Notts, and I'll keep pestering him on Twitter until he signs.
Fair enough. And if he does sign, all the whole 100% of credits to you. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll take 10%.
That's signing on fee. Two questions then, very quick questions before I let you go. First of all, who do you see as the dark horse in the Notts squad to have a really good season?
Francis has already been mentioned. I know, like I say, that he divides opinion. I think he's going to have a very good season. I think his flexibility is key, and being able to drop deep and think about those spaces, those defensive spaces. He's got that defensive experience, and we've already mentioned Austin as well. So those are the two players that I think are going to really come good this season. I've got high hopes for, certainly. So looking out for those two particularly. And
final question, I'm asking everyone: where do you see Notts finishing?
I'm going to be really repetitive. I'm going to see second. I'm going to suggest that Wrexham are going to take it, but I'm going to throw an extra sort of bit in there, an extra bit of prediction. So I reckon Parkinson will get sacked at at Wrexham for a bad start, let's say somewhere around November time, and then I think he'll get replaced by a big name manager. They'll throw the kitchen sink at it, and they'll power on from there. I think we'll have a good start, but I just think Wrexham will throw silly money at it after a slightly wobbly start. So that's my prediction. But obviously, fingers crossed that we can do it, because we don't really want to be going through the playoffs again, do we?
Definitely not. Colin, as always, appreciate your knowledge. It's really great to hear you. I know a lot of people have enjoyed watching you in the comments. So for this,
appreciate it.
Cheers. See you on the channel at some point, maybe at Medellin.
Thank you. Catch you again.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Colin says that about Parkinson, and then makes me wonder as well what's going to happen in January. You know, if they're sort of a couple of points off it or a couple of places off it, what are they going to do then with the squad? They've got so many resources to then go and bring someone else in. You know, they brought Ollie Palmer in at one point last season, and then he went on and played really, really well. So, yeah, only me and Ben at the minute predicting the first place finish. Right, last guest. I've had to leave until last. I've had to. You all know him on the channel. You've seen it from the predictions videos. Will.
Hello.
Thank you for waiting, mate. Appreciate that.
It's all right.
It's been a long way.
I
can see that the people that are waiting down at the bottom of my screen here. I noticed you go off possibly for your tea halfway through. But you're here. You're on time. How are you doing anyway?
Yeah, I'm all right. So I'm in good spirits. Like I said, we've got 5 weeks off now, so it's all good.
5 weeks off, bit of a
Doesn't
rest.
feel like a Sunday night.
No, it doesn't feel like a Sunday night. 6 days to go to the season, 5 if you're looking at tomorrow. We had the prediction video together. Got slated by a few Chesterfield fans for saying they'll finish third. Apparently, we don't know anything what we're talking about, so doesn't really hurt from the Chesterfield fans. Them and Wrexham always give us a bit of stick, don't they? Carl Roberts left after that video.
Yeah.
You put not second. Does that change your prediction for second place? I'll get that in a minute.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't change my opinion because of what other people have said tonight as well. I know a lot of people said that phrase, but he's a great player, but I don't think the system 100% suited him. No. So I think, although it's a huge loss, I think we'd have only seen him. I don't think he'd have got injured. I think that would have been a pretty much a cert at some point. You can't rely on him to be fit for the whole of the season. And I also just think he'd have been. There's so many games. The odds are that he's been injured like quite a lot since being at Notts. I think he'd have got injured again. So it's an incredibly huge loss. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to lie and say it's not, because it really is. And some of the football he's shown us at Meadow Lane and when we went away was fantastic. I mean, some of his footwork, even in this pre-season, he looks really sharp, to be fair to him. And if we'd have kept him, he'd 100% helped us out. But I don't think it's going to be a go up or not go up kind of loss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Talking about this footwork, that nutmeg against Leicester sticks in my mind. Like, yeah. And I've already spoken. I think it was to Colin. I think it was, or Matt. The Scottish League's a step up, so we'll have to see how he does there. But ultimately, the owners have done their job. They bought him in, and they made profit. Yeah. I think the only person we haven't made profit on, I think we're banking on getting promoted, was Carl Wootton. That's the only person we've sort of made a significant loss on. Obviously, you've got people like Eli that's gone for nothing. I think Eli's in the third division of Belgium now, an amateur team, which is sad, but there was no consistency there. We've definitely strengthened. For you, the squad right now, we'll break it into two. We'll break it into squad and the league. How much is the squad stronger than last season? Yes or no?
The squad as a whole.
As a whole.
Well, good question. You put me on the spot here. I'm going to say instinct. Yes, I think it's stronger.
Is the league stronger?
I think the league is weaker. What
about the promotion battle? Stronger or weaker? That top six easier because Stockport are gone.
I think easier. I think Grimsby were always good last year. I just think easier. I don't know what I'm judging that on really. I think massively that Stockport are gone, and I think Wrexham are not head and shoulders. Don't want to start. Not head and shoulders above us, but I think they're going to win the league. I think teams like Stockport, I don't know what it is, but something tells me they're not Stockport. Solihull, I don't know if they're going to be able to recreate what they did last season. I just don't know. I just see Stockport go in and Grimsby go in. That's two massive scalps sort of gone. I feel like the teams that are coming down, Oldham and Scunthorpe, aren't going to replace them two that have gone up. So yeah, I think it's easier, but it doesn't really make a difference because it doesn't make the actual play. Once you get into the playoff spots, it's not going to be any easier because then one-off legs doesn't matter who's you playing in them. It does not matter.
Second and third place matters though massively.
Yeah,
getting those places. Yeah, that's a big thing to get those places. For me, this is obvious thing to say. It's so obvious. Well, I've just seen almost 100 people watching live, so that is massively appreciated. Will, it's gone up a little bit since you've come on. I'm not saying that's yours, but it's gone up a little bit. If you are watching now, we've been live for an hour, so you can rewind it. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. It massively helps us out and means we can create more of this content this season. But no matter, it's obvious to say, obvious. The reason we didn't go up last season was consistency. That's the reason. We'll beat teams 2-3, 4-0 easily, and then we'll go and lose a game like Aldershot 3-1 away. Now, it's obvious to say because if every team was consistent, then they'll go up. Can Luke Williams get this consistency? Because I look back to a video that George put on his Twitter that he spotted from the Leicester game. 2-1 up against Leicester, who have got Iheanacho on the pitch, Ricardo Pereira, and Luther picks the ball up 8-second minute, and he's screaming at him to hurry up. I don't think he'll let the ball drop at all. Do you think he can get that consistency? Whether it means we finish first or second, I'm disregarding that. Will we be more consistent, and will we stop losing those stupid games, or is that what the National League is all about?
I think you're going to lose a stupid game here and now. You know, it happens. Look at Wrexham last year when they played. Was it Kingsland or Dover or whatever the mad scoreline? So things happen in the National League. You know, he's got what we've got to hope with Luke Williams is that he's a smart cookie and can work it out. In my head, I'm thinking to get consistency, do you change the team up and sort of make sure you keep every player fresh and make sure that we're fresh, ready for every game, the Tuesday night games, whatever? Or do you try and keep a consistent team that are going well? I don't know the answer to that. Hopefully Luke Williams has the exact answer to that sort of problem. It's not an easy thing to answer. And how you get this consistency, I don't know. I think it's all good and well. I'm going to play a little devil's advocate. It's all good and well doing that against Leicester when you can make however many subs you want to make in a pre-season friendly with no fans, no one on your back. It's probably easy to shout at the players keeping them going. It's a cold Tuesday night against Gateshead away. Well, I know it's not going to be that cold, but
it's an August one, Will.
It's an August one.
One
of the November ones, yeah. Is it going to be that easy? I don't know. But I'm hoping so. I'm hoping he can get consistency. He looks like a great coach, and we've heard that he's a great coach. And I think Harley's going to really, really push him as well. He looks like a good assistant. So hopefully he can find the consistency, and hopefully he can kind of bring the squad together. And it's like, I think this is something Birchnell did well, to be fair, but make it as a team effort and a squad effort, and not just, that's the 11. You know, we need to make sure.
I don't see, this is obviously a bold thing to say, like you said, it's pre-season, we can do it there. And like you say, can we do it November, December, January, February, when we've played 5 games in sort of the space of 20 days or 21 days or whatever it is, and then we go away to Maidstone or whoever it might be at that point? Can we do that? Instinct tells me I can't see an Altrincham away happening where we lose 1-0 without any fight. I can't see a Woking. There will be them. Obviously, every team has them. Stockport had them. Wrexham had them. There will be them. But I can't see things like Woking happening again, touch wood, at home. 1-0 up, let 4 goals in 10 minutes. I can't see that happening. I feel like he will not let that happen. And I feel like the players we've got, Kyle Cameron, massive miss. We can keep him fit all season. Baj Rami, I feel like the players we've got will not let that happen.
I agree with you. I think a lot of the signings we've made is, like I say, Badrami and Baldwin and Cameron, if he stays fit. This seems a ridiculous thing to say, but they're all big boys and they're all characters. It seems like they're all big boys and all characters who can all step up and won't let anyone sort of give half measures. And that's the sort of players you need in the National League. We saw it 3 years ago when Barrow came to Meadow Lane, and they absolutely bullied us to the floor. I'll never forget it. They weren't good footballers. They literally bullied us, and the manager was bullying us, and I felt horrific. But that's what we need to be doing to other teams. That's how you get out of this league. It's what happens, isn't it? So hopefully the signings do that.
I want to get to the point where there was times when I was looking at my phone during the Notts games, and you'd have like Stockport at home to, I don't know, Altrincham at Aldershot or Kings Lynn, and I just thought, well, they've won. With Notts, I never felt, there were some home games I did, never felt like an away game. And I thought, they've won. I'd look at my phone and think, right, we need to win today because Stockport will win, or Wrexham will win, or Surrey will definitely win. I want us to get to that point this season. James got a question for you. Has Baldwin's signing gone under the radar? Seems an unbelievable signing, but seems to have gone a little bit unnoticed. And Chris adds on, his tackle against Forest, who was one of the moments of pre-season. What do you think about Baldwin? Because he could be hit alongside Cameron at the back, could be massive.
I thought it was man of the match on Tuesday night. I thought it was absolutely class. To bear in mind, he's playing against Lyle Taylor, who's a apparent championship goal scorer or whatever. I'm not having none of it. Baldwin absolutely pocketed him. That tackle was incredible. I was actually really nervous when he got up and started to come off and get a little bit of treatment. I was absolutely bricking it. I think he looks quality, and I think he's got a lot more to come as well. I think he's confident. He seems like he's willing. He's that real anchor we need in that central spot in the back three, and it allows Cameron to go on and do his lazy runs forward. We saw it against Forest under 23s. We saw it. Cameron went forward and had a license to do it, because I feel like Baldwin is going to stick as that anchor man in the center of the three, and just head it, kick it, not do anything silly, but just head kick and do whatever he has to do, and he'll be a vocal point as well.
Way quicker than I expected as well. That recovery tackle, I thought quicker than I expected. Right, Will, I would say two more questions, but I already know you said Notts going to finish second. The final question, which is one I've asked everyone, who's going to be the dark horse in this Notts squad this season? We've already had Francis, we've had Nemain, we've had Vincent, we've had Luther. Who do you think?
The dark, I know I have been listening. I should have really prepped, shouldn't I? Can I say who? I hope it's Frank Vincent. Okay. I really, really like Frank Vincent. I think he's energetic, and he's got all the right attributes to be a really, really good centre mid for Notts. I feel like his head's in the right spot. I hopefully Vincent, but I really want Nemain to. I think if Nemain can start getting a start and can start making that position his own, I think he can really flourish down that side. I know defensively we might struggle a little bit, but I think if he can turn it on like he has done in pre-season in parts, then hopefully Nemain. So Nemain or Vincent.
Fair enough. Will, legend as always for having you on the channel. You'll see a lot of Will this season, whether it be vlogs, post-match videos, Pavis perspectives, whatever. Will's always around, aren't you, Will?
Yeah, I'm always about, unless I'm playing on Saturday.
Yeah, well, season ticket, you made about 4 games because you're playing. Ridiculous, waste of money, but, supporting the club. So, Will, appreciate having you on.
Cheers, Rudy.
Cheers. So that is our 6 guests. Hope you've enjoyed the variety of things I want to talk about. The optimism's there, massively there this season. You've got me and myself and Ben who think we're going to finish first. A lot of people saying second. I don't think anyone put us lower than second. I know a few people in the chat did. But for so many people sticking around on a Sunday night when it's getting late, we pushed it back because the Lionesses won the Euros, which is massive. Well done to them. Really good to see an England team lifting a trophy. So massively appreciate everyone that's joined us tonight. If you subscribed, liked, or commented, I've not been able to keep up with the comments. It's been crazy. Finally, the Pavis Perspective will be back on Thursday at 7:30 as normal, ahead of Maidenhead. There will be a vlog for the Maidenhead game, so stay tuned for that one. And as always, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And here's to a really good season for the